I don't know what happened, but it's working. I guess third time's the charm, but when you see those green things back with
Or my birthday.
the Marine Corps,
Mhm.
how many years?
I think we're 276 this year. 276 years.
Well, the new branch,
1775. So
1775.
yeah. Do that math.
245 years.
Oh yeah.
Yes, sir.
Well, we got one branch of the service that's not a year old yet.
Oh, the Space Command?
Yeah,
Really?
not a year old. I take it now that, family, you don't keep up with the news too much. Okay. Well, don't think you're missing a whole lot. I liked it better back when I didn't get interested in elections. And I watched too much news before the election. I'm trying to cut down on watching news now.
I did see that space thing though, because I like to learn about space sometimes.
Yeah.
And I thought that was cool.
So, all right. Now, we had chapter 9. I only went over half of chapter 9. That was on the receivables. Now, we can get a note by loading the customer money. It's with debit notes receivable on credit cash. We can get a note by taking the customer's note, he can't pay his accounts receivable on time. With debit notes receivable on credit accounts receivable. We could get a notes receivable if we sell some expensive items. So we debit notes receivable and we credit sales. 3 ways to get a notes receivable. Now the thing about the notes, they have a maturity value, a maturity date, they have interest added on to them. Now either in the appendix or the very back is discount notes. We can take that note to the bank. It might be a 90-day note, and we decide we want our money after 50 days. We only get interest for 50 days. The bank takes their interest out up front. That's called discount. When the bank takes their interest out up front, that's called discount. Don't know how heavy we can get into that. But tonight we need to look at bad debts and look at some of your problems. We're only going to have next week, I'd like to look at a little bit of chapter 10 tonight, but maybe we can't. But we've got all next week. You will have an exam. It will be all multiple choice. Okay? On exam night, I'll probably give you 50 multiple choice from chapters 9 and 10. Okay? But some of them will be like problems also. And you'll do okay on those multiple choice. Right? But we are rushing through 2 chapters. Now, Michael was wondering if he would forget between December and January and February, depending on when the next course starts. It'll be 3 or 4 months. No, I don't think you'll forget it. First night we'd review real quick. Some people wait a year after having Principles 1 to take Principles 2. I don't advise you to wait a year, but some people have done that, okay? Anyhow, it will work out okay. Now, in this chapter, now, I don't know if I showed you PowerPoint or what, so I'm going to flip pages with you in the book this time. So I want you to go to page 448. If you give credit, do you have people that won't pay?
Yes.
All right. Do you know your credit score, any of you?
Unfortunately.
What?
I said unfortunately.
Unfortunately. Now, fella, you must have been late paying sometimes. I'm guessing yours are what, in the 500s?
No, I'm in the 600s. But still, that's not.
The 600's not bad.
That's not good either.
Margaret, you know yours?
Yes,
In the 700s?
804.
Isn't that as high as you can go? Or is it 850 as high as you can
I'm
go?
at 835, it's 850.
Good gracious.
Yeah. But,
I used to be in the 700s.
well, that happens to a lot of people, okay? Now, if you pay bills late, you know, that might hurt your credit score. If you don't pay it off, these businesses do get bad debts. I'm gonna have probably a bad debt with Terminix. They keep sending me a bill, and they didn't do the job they were supposed to do. I'm not paying them until they do. So I'm in bad debt right now. Probably certain reasons to have bad debt. Hopefully none of you have ever had anything repoed, okay? But anyway, I know when I was young, I don't know if I honored it. You used to be able to get 6 albums for 99 cents or a penny. Then it was 6 8-tracks. Then it was 6 cassettes. Then it was 6 CDs. See, we're coming up the ladder here in the music industry. But anyway, you could get 6 for a penny or 99 cents, but you had to buy one a month. Did you ever get hooked into those, Michael?
I didn't personally, but my cat did.
How'd your cat do it?
Well, I joined in my cat's name.
And I'm sure that cat was a bad debt.
Well, no, the cat has good credit score too. But, no, I paid, but it was terrible, because, as you well know, the best part of that deal is up front, you could actually go out and buy the music cheaper at.
So later on, you may have to buy a CD or a cassette tape for $20 when you can go to Walmart and get it for 13. Yeah, they're making their money back. But I got into one time, and I know I got my 6 for 99 cents. I had to buy 6 more, but my contract said I had to buy 6 more. They sent me a card every month. I didn't want that one. Now, if you didn't send that card back, they'd send you one. So I waited till the 6 months were up, and then I ordered 6 to honor my contract. But I'm sure when I was even younger than that, I probably ordered some and didn't honor it. I don't remember. So that's bad debts. Okay? Anyhow, when I was at the community college, I had a lot of policemen in class. For some reason, they had to take Accounting 1 and some deputies and so on. Now, state police are trying to take accounting so they will get into forensic accounting with computers. So they gotta know the accounting. And, you know, the FBI likes accountants. So on. But, anyhow, so I had this deputy sheriff in my class. He come up to my door one time and he had a summons for somebody of my same name. I wouldn't pay for my refrigerator. I was going to be taken to court, and it was not my debt, and I had to tell him. I thought with the other Paris Lester lived. But same names. Mike Chandler, do you have anybody with your same name?
I've never met really anybody with my name.
Have you ever Googled it?
I mean, Sam, they're actors and stuff.
You don't know, well, I mean, talk about first name and last name.
I don't know.
Do you tell her?
Yeah, 2 years ago, I actually looked up on Facebook who was named Taylor Harvey. There were tons of Taylor Harveys. And I friend requested this one girl, and we're still friends. We have the same name.
I bet you there's a bunch of Taylor Harvey that would seem common.
Yeah, there's a lot of us.
And some of them I bet you are guys.
I didn't see any guys, but I'm sure
No.
there are some.
And how about you, Michael? What's your last name, Michael?
Acres.
Yeah, that'd be a common name, wouldn't it?
Yeah, in fact, there were 2 of us in high school. One was he was a couple grades behind me.
My name don't come up too often. not too common.
I like that.
But anyhow, Chandler, what's your last name?
Ayla.
I don't think those would be too common. First for a last. Chandler's usually a last name.
Yeah.
There was a bald-headed Jeff Chandler that was an actor. Michael probably seen him in Western. You remember Jeff Chandler, Mike?
Sure.
Okay. Let's see. No, that's the only one I can think of.
That's
Okay.
kinda like I told you, one of the problems tonight talks about Dr. Marcus Welby, and I can remember that TV show.
Oh yeah, me too. Sad but true. A long time ago. All right, let me explain the first page to you. The direct write-off method of accounts receivable. Okay, how do you know when a debt is bad? How do you know when a debt's bad? Well, if you read the person's name in the obituary, it's probably going to be a bad debt, right? Or if you're in business, doing business with other business, you might see a company went bankrupt. That's going to be a bad debt. All right, if you've tried and extinguished and exhausted everything, you might write off as a bad debt. But if it's the direct write-off method, it's very easy. Debit bad debt expense, and credit their accounts receivable and their name. Now that's on page 448. Now look at the first entry. What do you debit?
Bad debt expense.
And credit what?
Accounts receivable.
All right, now look at the bottom entry. This person hit the lottery. They hit the lottery and now they're going to pay up. What's the first entry?
Accounts receivable.
And credit?
Bad debt.
You reverse that bad debt expense entry. And then you take the money and debit cash and credit accounts receivable, right? That's if a person honors their debt after it's been written off. That's all there is to the direct write-off method. Don't make it hard. Now over on page 449 is the allowance method for uncollectibles. All right, that's when you debit bad debt expense and credit an estimate. Allowance for bad debts. All right. Now, if your sales was 200,000, you go by history and you estimate a percent. Let's say 0.5% of those sales are going to be bad. How do you write 0.5%, Chandler, as a decimal?
0.5? No?
2 zeros.
Wait a minute. Let me put what Chandler said right there. Now, that's 50%. But now if I put a percent on it, it is 0.5%. Now, how do you change that 0.5% to a decimal then, Chandler? You move the decimal 2 to the left.
Oh.
And your answer is what?
5,000.
There's what you need. Now multiply that by 200,000. How much?
It is 1,000.
All right, that's your estimated bad debt expense. So you would debit accounts receivable, bad debt expense, 1,000, credit the allowance for 1,000. Look at your page 449, the entry. Now, by and by on page 450, somebody that owed you $150 won't pay. You take it out of this allowance. Then we debit allowance for doubtful accounts and credit accounts receivable. All right, for the 150. All right, if I set this up for 1,000, credit the allowance for 1,000. Just pretend that I've got 1,000 here and here. What's my balance left in my allowance after I make this entry? I credit allowance for 1,000. I debit allowance for 150. How much do I have left? That's for other bad debts. That's what the allowance method is. All right, page 451. What if somebody hits the lottery? You reverse that and take their cash. All right. Now, Michael. Or Chandler. Or Taylor. What are the two methods now of writing off a bad debt?
Direct write-off
That's one.
and the allowance.
That's
method.
two. Okay, very good. Now, look at page 452. There are two methods to write off using the allowance. So now we're saying under the allowance method, there's two situations. I call those methods, so we'll call these situations. Situation A, you estimate receivables. How would you write 1/4% as a decimal, Teller?
0.25.
All right, 0.25, if you leave the percent on there, is correct.
0.025.
That's correct. Keep that in mind, you'll have some of these in problems. All right, that is the estimated method. That's what we've been doing, estimated. But now another method, you analyze accounts receivable. Look at page 454. Now, how much are you going to collect? Look at that chart. Do you see the chart on page 454? How much are you going to collect if it's over 365 days past due? How much do you expect to collect?
11,000.
20%.
20%, which is 11,000. No, you're not collecting that
Oh,
much.
I see.
That's uncollectible, 1120. But yeah, 20%, Michael. All right. But what percent are you going to collect if it's not past due yet?
98.
98. So the longer it goes, the more unlikely you are to collect. Now,
Where did you guys get those numbers?
Yeah.
all right, are you on the chart?
I am.
All right, go over to page, go over to over 365.
I did.
Go down till you find 80%.
I did.
All right, that is the uncollectible amount. But I reversed that and said, what percent will you collect? And Michael said 20.
Oh, okay. I get it.
Got it? And 2%, Michael said 98.
Yeah. I'm tracking.
Okay. All right. So you estimate accounts receivable by the aging situation. Aging of accounts receivable. But now we still debit bad debt expense and credit allowance. Now there's only one little situation right here. If you had a T account, sister trying to call from Michigan. She lives near Detroit. She's taking that laxing bad. I don't have time to talk to her. All right, allowance for doubtful accounts. Let's say we put 1,000 in it. Let's say we took out 100 and 700 and another 100. How much is your balance? What's your balance?
Is that 100 at the top?
Yeah. 7, 8, 9, you got a balance of 100. Now when you're doing the aging method, it doesn't matter. If I take a 4% of the sales and it's 1,200, then I'll put 1,200 in there. That makes how many hundred? 13. Now, if it's the aging method, like looking at those percents, and we 1,200, we only bring it up to 1,200. So we put in 1,100. Makes 12, don't it? That's the difference in those two situations. But I'll be giving you homework on those, and we'll be practicing it some next week. Then we went up to notes receivables. On page 458, I want you to compare all those entries. Direct write-off method is simple. The allowance method, we need practice. Okay, even though it's in multiple choice, you'll have some numbers involved. I'll probably let you use a few notes. All right, last week we decided December had 31 days. We decided February had 28 days except leap year. Now, what was the old wives' tale about leap year? What do you remember about Sadie Hawkins or leap year? Mike would be the only one that would know something about this.
Well, the only thing I remember like that is on Valentine's Day, girls are allowed to invite boys to the dance. And I learned that from Lowell Abner. But I don't know if that's what you're looking at.
Yeah, something similar to that. Leap year and old days gave the female a right to ask the guy for a date or to marry. But now they do that every day, every year. Females ask, it don't matter about a special day. Right, Taylor?
Mm-hmm.
All right, things change. All right, now we said January had how many days?
31.
March,
31.
June,
31. 30.
right, February. All right, now we said 30 days says September, April, June, and November. All the rest have 31 except February alone. Now, I want to ask Taylor a simple question. Taylor, how many months have 28 days in them?
All the months, 12.
She got
I knew you were trying to confuse me.
it. Did you get that, Jim?
He thought she was going to say February.
Right. You did good.
I know. Smarter than your average student.
Well, I used to have a secretary at the community college one time. She said I was smarter than your average bear. Whatever she meant by that, bears may only have about a 40 IQ. So, I don't know. Anyhow. Okay, notes. Let's see if you remember this one situation that I gave you on notes. Now I'm going to give you the face of a note. Real simple, $10,000. I'm going to give you a rate of simple 10%. Now I can give you months or I can give you days, it don't matter. But I'm going to give you time is equal to 90 days. Now, I want you to take the face plus the interest, give me the maturity value. So you're going to give me these question marks. I'm going to date that note today. What is today? 11/10/20. Now give me the maturity date. So give me those 3 question marks.
So is it, are we doing 365 or 360?
We'll use 360 as a banker's year. That would not be exact interest.
What's that 11 minus 10 minus 20?
The what now?
Oh, that's the date.
11-10-20. Okay. 11-10-20. All right, should have it. How much is your interest?
250.
How much?
250.
And your maturity value will be,
97.50.
huh?
I don't know why I subtracted that. 10,250.
All right, you add interest. You get that, didn't you, Michael?
Sir?
Did you get 10,250?
Yes, sir.
10. What?
Where did you get 250? Where is that from?
From your formula,
Oh, okay.
D times R times T.
10,000 times 0.1 divided by 4.
Oh,
90 over 360 is 1/4. When you multiply by 1/4, you're dividing by 4. That's what Chandler's saying. I mean, Michael.
okay.
All right. Have you calculated it yet, Chandler?
Yeah. Alright.
All right. There's 20 days left in November, 31 in December, 31 in January. That gives me 82. So this note is due on what date? Maturity date.
I
Cool.
haven't got the date yet.
Come on, Michael, you got that.
But I can't add. I added 20 and 31 and got 61. So.
Yeah, that's bad.
That would make it February 18th.
Yeah, if you misadded it would. Let's try February the 8th.
That's what I got, but I thought that was wrong.
How many days are left in November? 20. How many in February? Gosh, how many in December? 31. How many in January?
31.
That adds up to 82. We need 8 more days in February.
So the 8th.
Did you get it? Okay. All right. Now that's what the second part of the chapter is about. like I say, I felt guilty about that selling chapter. Accounting for notes receivable on page 460. You debit notes receivable and credit accounts receivable. When you get paid, you debit cash for the maturity value. You credit notes receivable for the face. And you credit interest revenue for the interest. So right here is your journal entry. Debit cash for the maturity value, credit notes receivable for the face, and credit interest revenue for the interest. Now, folks, that's not too hard. Not bad. All right. Now let's say the person don't pay you. Look at that entry at the bottom of the page. The person don't pay you this note. So then where do you put the whole maturity value of $6,060? You debit what?
Accounts receivable.
You put it back in his accounts receivable, credit notes receivable, credit interest income. All right. Over here on page 461, same thing. You debit notes receivable and credit accounts receivable. However, you may have to make an adjusted entry if your year ends on December 31st. Now, this bottom entry on page 460, they should have showed you another entry. Now, if he pays you, you may charge him interest on $6,060. Now, there is accounts receivable turnover. All right, now let's get this one straight in case it's in a multiple choice. I should have went over the inventory more and practiced it. And be careful, if it asks you just for the current year, don't do both years. Okay, page 463. Accounts receivable turnover is sales divided by average accounts receivable. Sales divided by average accounts receivable. Average means beginning and ending, divided by 2. All right, look at their example. Look at year 2. Can you give me the average of accounts receivable? It's 473.5, right? That's your average accounts receivable. Now what do we divide that into? Sales, 6,257. Now put that in your calculator and see what it comes out to be. Does it give you 1321? Did you get 1321? Okay. All right, now divide this into 365. Everybody use your calculator.
0.0361917.
You divided 13.21 into 365.
27.63.
How much?
Oh, yeah,
27.63.
fix that.
27 days, 0.63. Let's don't have part of a day, so let's make it 28 days. All right, that's how often you collect. Now, if your terms were 210 net 30, is that pretty good? You're collecting everything within 27, 28 days? That'd be good, wouldn't it? All right, if your terms are 210 net 20, your folks are paying about 8 days late. Now, but look at the way they do it. It's like they did inventory. You take your average accounts receivable, divided by your average daily sales. Well, if your sales is 3257, take 3257 and divide that by 365. Divide 6257
8.9.
6. I'm sorry, I don't know where I got that. How, 6257 divided by 365. How much?
17.14.
And I'll take that 17.14, divide into your average accounts receivable of 473.5. What does that give us? 27 what?
0.622.
Alright, not a lot of difference, is there? My way is shorter. Their way works. They had 27.7. They rounded off anyway. Alright. That's not hard. Not at all. Now, what problems did I ask you to practice for homework, chapter 9? I think I started with exercise 19. Is that correct?
We did 9-3, 19, and 20.
9-3. I can't get pages turned tonight. Alright, I'm not gonna worry about 9-3. We just looked at that tonight. But 9-3 is due next week. Exercise 9-3, page 472. That's for Adrian's benefit. And exercise 9-7, 9-6, 9-8. 9-10. All right. That homework will help you with bad debts. Now we got 9-19. Okay. Chandler, where are you on Cengage? Ooh.
I think it was chapter 9. I'm on the one that's due in December.
Where you at on Cengage?
9
Number 8.
Well, if you finish with number 8, you're up to date. That's where you got to tell you.
I think I'm on 10.
You're up to date. Are you about finished with 8?
I'll finish everything this week.
Huh?
I'll finish everything this week.
Okay. Now, 8 might have helped you with the test after you had it finished.
Yeah.
Chandler, I'm sure you started on 9. I mean, Mike.
About four or five problems in the 9 years.
Okay. All right, y'all doing okay. Cengage is supposed to help. I know the day instructor's not using it. A lot of those day students, I would advise him to use it. It helps give a good grade for one thing. So, have you looked at your average yet, Michael? What's your average grade?
Oh, 96.
Pretty good. Okay. So if I count that as a test grade, that's a good grade, which I am counting it as a test grade. Okay.
Let me ask you a question just about the mechanics of it. When I click on send in to you, it's still on the thing. So it hadn't just,
Yeah, I was like that. I think you can go retype that.
Well, I know you can retake it, but if I click on send it for grading, then I'm finished with it.
You're
right?
finished. I don't
Okay.
think you can redo it, no.
Okay.
Mine disappeared.
Cause
If I have 100, they disappear.
one of mine left, chapter 7 completely disappeared, but the rest of them are still there.
I bet you got 100 on chapter 7.
They disappear if you got 100, and if you didn't, then
Well,
they
I don't
stay
know.
Yeah, I can look at those.
I don't know, like 90.
Okay, so I was afraid that they hadn't gone to you yet.
Oh, they'd have.
Okay, very good.
Michael, you had a question last week. I think it was about chapter 8, and you said what I went over from chapter 7 or 8:1 helped.
What we did in class last week cleared up in my mind where I was hung up.
Okay.
And then when I went back, it fixed. I was able to fix it.
Very good, very good. Yeah. Hadn't forgot about it, but I didn't mention it in class like I wanted to because I forgot it back from class time. Okay, a very easy exercise, folks. Exercise 519. I know you had to read chapter 9, you had a little exercise, you had a test, and you had to engage. So I don't know how you did on this one or not, but we're just going to look at the solution pretty quick on this. Well, I'm supposed to have them down here somewhere. I guess I'm looking for Word. They're not there. I had it brought up. So now it'll take me a minute to find them. That's not wanting to bring up my drive. Never has done that before. There, I got it finally. I'm gonna have to move these around where I can find them quicker.
I think you control F and then type in accounting 101.
Yeah.
Should show up.
I had it brought up. They should have kept it Word. It didn't. And I have to waste time. All right. Tanner, did you get this homework? All right. Did you get it, Michael? Okay. Here's what I want you to do right now. All right. Tanner, I want you to do AB. This is exercise 19, page 477, AB. Tell her I want you to do CD. And Michael, you've already got it. You're responsible for E. Michael, I'm gonna let you do 927, exercise 927. So everybody take a moment to do that.
No, he wants you to do
919, A and B.
A and B on 919. On page 477.
Oh, okay. Okay. I thought he said A and B.
What did he just want me to do, 20 what?
27.
27. What's my mouth?
Dr. Lynn.
Yeah.
Other question.
All right.
So what we were just doing,
What?
is it the one, do you have the copy we were doing on the board? Is this how?
Yeah.
Okay.
Andy. Should be. Let's see. Yeah, you got to find the interest and the due date.
do you calculate to get the due date again? I had it a second ago.
Count from whatever date the note is to 90 days or 60 in the future.
Okay.
Okay, folks. All right, let's look at those first four. See if you have a question. All right. Who had AB? Chandler? Chandler, did you come up with $500?
I got 493.
No, not good.
Oh,
How'd you do that?
I did that.
40,000 times 5%.
I
Like
didn't do
Michael said, that's divided by 4.
I didn't do that part. I just did 40 or 40 times 0.5 times 360 or divided by. No, I did that. Hold on.
Did you get April the 10th?
Yes.
Okay. Did you get September the 15th?
Yes.
Did you get anywhere close to 720?
Yes.
Okay, Taylor, did you get July 5
Yeah.
and 525?
Yeah.
And did you get December 7 and 270?
Yep.
Okay. Now, Chandler, you did your homework. Did you get January 19th, 180?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, you can calculate interest and you can find days now. Okay. You can find maturity value. Work on making the entries. And that is problem 20, exercise 20. Let's look at that one. Determine the due date of the note, determine the maturity date of the note, journalize the entry to record the note. Now, Chandler may be the only one that has number 20. Now, the first part of it is what you just did. August 11th. All right, we're saying divided times 120 divided by 360. That's 120 over 360. That's 1/3. You're dividing by 3. You know, by the time I got students at the end of accounting 2, they knew that fractions and decimals and percents and ratios are all the same thing. Fractions, decimals, percents, and ratios turn out to be the same thing. Okay, so if you found the maturity value of 94,550, we debit notes receivable, we credit accounts receivable. Then we debit cash, credit that's maturity value, that's the face value, and that's the interest revenue. I know you can get interest on notes, folks. I know you can. Now, Michael, which one did I just give you?
Number 28.
All right, let's look at page 479. Okay, did I give you number 27 for homework? I thought I did.
Not last week, no.
I mean for next week. Mark,
I got 9-3, 9-6, 9-7, 9-8, 9-10.
now put down 27 with it. It's just, but Michael did number 28. So Michael, the average of accounts receivable, 78 and 93, is 80 what?
Is that A?
Yeah, 87 and a half.
No, sir.
Are you on number 28?
Yes, sir.
Well, now if I take the average of that accounts receivable, 93 and 78, let me see what that would be. That would be 15, 7.5. You get 85.5.
Yeah.
The average has to be 85.5.
Well, there again, I guess this is one where I'm stuck, but it says, compute the accounts receivable turnover for year 2 and year 1. So I did 2 problems.
Okay, now first off, Michael, to get beginning and end, we have to have year 1 and 2. We're normally worried only about year 2.
Okay.
Now I need that number in year 1, 78, to add to 93 and divide by 2 and get 85.5. I'm going to divide that 85.5 into 4,036. I don't have a number to divide into year 1 because I don't have their beginning inventory. I only have their ending. They have to give you both years to get beginning and ending. Okay, now, you got that straight?
Yes, sir.
All right. I knew you could, Michael. One thing about Michael, he will work at it till he gets it. Okay, let's look at it real quick. Okay, so we got 85.5. Now somebody divide that into 365 real quick. Divide 85.5 into 365. How much?
85.5 times
Into 365.
I got 4.269.
For what?
4.26 or 27.
I got 23.
No.
85.5 divided by 365. 0.23.
Now what did you get that first off?
4.27.
Okay, here's what I want you to do. The turnover, I'm sorry, is 4720. Divide 4720 into 365.
I got 7.7.
Right there it is. 7.7. That's the short way. The other way, you gotta find the average daily sale. Now, Michael, they do it year 1, but if you read the paragraph would have to give you the other number you add to 78 to get 82.5. I'm usually only worried about year 2. All right, you've got some assignments. Your next assignment is read chapter 10. I hope you can have all of Cengage brought up through chapter 9. All right, Chandler is finished it. Michael's half. Tell her you'll get there. Tell her I know you will. You're probably as dependable as anybody could be. Were you ever late for work?
What, am I ever late for work? I was an hour and 15 minutes late this morning. I woke up thinking it was a Monday or something. I was supposed to be there at 7. Set my alarm for 6:30. I was getting ready as slow as possible, and I was like, oh my god, I it's supposed to be at work at 7 today.
That don't happen often though, does it?
No, that's the first time ever. They just put
Oh.
a more heavier workload on me too.
Now, Chandler, Michael believes in Vince Lombardi time. Vince Lombardi.
Yes.
Who was Vince Lombardi?
Well, he was head football coach of the Green Bay Packers when they won the first 2 world championships.
First 2 Super Bowls. And then he became a motivational speaker. But
He went
Vince
to Washington for a couple of years too.
may have.
Did not have real good success.
Yeah. But Vince Lombardi time is 10 minutes early. Michael practices that even in class. Most of the time, Telling, sometimes Chandler. Being at work 10 minutes early. Being 10 minutes early for a job interview. Being 10 minutes early for church. Being 10 minutes early for anything is Vince Lombardi time. It's a good policy.
I think it's good to be 2 minutes early.
Well, sometimes you can't help it. You get tied up in traffic. Teller got tied up about an hour one day. She couldn't help that.
In the military, you have to be 15 minutes early anywhere you go. 15.
Oh,
And they say if you're not 15 minutes early and you're past that, you're late.
Wow. But it's good to be early. They teach you some good things in the military. But anyway, I don't know why they're still holding my grandson for 2 or 3 weeks. Maybe it takes that long to process. But he has all the good papers.
So he just can't go to the schoolhouse, right?
He
made
he
it
can't go to the
basic?
school for aviation electronics. They couldn't put him in another one right now because they either haven't filled up or because of COVID, they don't know when they're starting them and so forth.
Did he
Because of that.
graduate?
Huh?
Has he graduated boot camp?
No, he only got into boot camp about 3 or 4 days when they found out his eye test was that bad.
So they're sending him home
Yeah.
from boot camp? That doesn't make sense.
Because of his depth perception.
They would still finish out his boot camp.
He should have finished boot camp and then when they could send him home until another school come open, couldn't they?
I don't know about the Navy though, or whatever branch he went into. They won't send you home for nothing.
Now, I believe my grandson he may have had a panic attack when he found out he couldn't get in that school. If he had a panic attack, they might have said, we don't want somebody like that operating things, you know. Huh?
That could be, I mean, that sounds more plausible than,
Yeah.
than sending him home because he can't make it into the schoolhouse.
Oh, something like that. I just hate it for him now. He'll have to go to college. He started one semester and some things happened. Okay, fixed assets. I'm not going to bring up PowerPoint. We don't have that much time. But this chapter is about fixed assets. They do depreciate. Now we know that what depreciates? What do you think depreciates?
cars.
Yeah, automobiles, buildings, any fixed asset. Furniture, fixtures, computers,
Gym equipment depreciates really fast.
what?
Gym equipment.
Sure. These computers depreciate fast, don't they? Some of these programs depreciate fast. What Windows do we have now? Do we have Windows 10 or 11?
Start 10.
All right. Some people are still trying to use Windows 7, I guess. But it's obsolete. Now, I learned Lotus. When I was doing spreadsheets, I did Lotus spreadsheets. It's obsolete. Now, what's your spreadsheets called?
Excel.
Excel. So Excel's in, Lotus is out. Windows 10 Word is in, Windows 7 Word is out. I did not know until this election that big tech companies like Twitter and Facebook and even Google, I mean, I use Google up here for everything, for that Hangout, and Zoom, and YouTube, and I use Google a lot. But I didn't know that Google, Twitter, and Facebook were such big monopolies. I hadn't thought about it. Monopoly is one. General Motors, Ford, and Chrysler used to be an oligopoly. There was a few, three. But now we've got all the foreign competition in the automobile industry. Anyhow, I didn't know they had so much control over what you can say and not say on Facebook or Twitter. But they do. In a way, it's not free speech. Okay, I guess, unless you're what, a Democrat? I don't know. But big tech may have played an important role in this election to a degree. All right, I'm going to buy a piece of equipment for simply $10,000. I'm going to give it a 5-year life. When we depreciate something, it has to have a life. And I'm going to give it a $2,000 scrap value. Can you give me a synonym? Means the same thing as scrap.
Junk,
What?
junk, maybe.
Junk? Junk value? Scrap value? Residual value? Throwaway value? Scrap value is what you trade in. Trade in value. It's what you get out of your automobile. That's its scrap value. All right. Now, this is very easy. Here's the formula. Straight line depreciation. I hate to sneeze in more of these things. All right, life is 5 years, scrap is 2,000. There's your formula. Straight line depreciation is cost minus scrap over life. How much depreciation per year?
8,000 divided by 5.
Right.
1,600.
How much?
1,600.
All right, 1,600 year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, isn't it? Every year it's 1,600. Now you could have part year. We're going to put this in operation. Only 9 months left. We'd have to do part year. Now keep this in mind. This is called the straight line method of depreciation. All right, we have a unit of production. Units of production method. Same thing. This method, units of production, is equal to U, well, let's say depreciation, is equal to cost minus scrap over life. I'm going to put a little U there instead of a year. It's units. Well, now what if this item that we paid $10,000 for, and we had 2,000 scrap, could produce 100,000 units.
Is that a 2 and a U
Uh,
under the cost minus scrap?
this is life.
Oh, that looks like a 2.
I know, dear. Life in units. Okay. Now take 10,000 minus 2 gives you what?
8.
Now divide 8,000 by 100,000 units. The decimal oh what?
8.
Decimal oh 08, right?
Yes.
Now this is dollars. This is units, so this has to be 8 cents. So in the units production method, I've got to tell you how many units was produced in year 1, 20,000. Multiply that by 8 cents and see what you get. $1,600, right?
Did you make up the 100,000?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
I made up everything.
So, there's no 5 involved in that at all?
No,
When you say life units, it's just what it's that 100,000 that you were talking
all right.
about? Okay.
Does that give you 1,600?
Yes.
All right, that's coincidental. But Michael, one thing I had mentioned, what's a unit? What is a unit? Let's take a bulldozer. Do you think you appreciate a bulldozer by years? No, hours. Hours is a unit. Producing a car at General Motors is a unit. Now, the way back when computers was young, you had the timeshare. Computer hours was a unit. How about these big off-road trucks that's never tagged? They may still use miles as a unit. So, a gadget or gadget, miles or hours, can be a unit. Alright? Probably can use kilowatt hours as a unit. Okay. Okay. Now, Michael, I made up everything. We bought something for $10,000. It has scrap value too.
Okay.
And I estimated that its life would be 100,000 units. So I got to find my cost per unit. And by doing that, I'm multiplying 8. I'm off tonight. It's getting late. I only have 8,000 to depreciate. So would you multiply 8,000? No, wait a minute. 20,000 units is correct. I produced 20,000 units. Let's say in year 2 I produced 30,000 units. So multiply 30,000 by decimal 08. What do you get?
24.
2,400. And we could only go to 8. Alright. Now, another method is called,
So you may not have the same number of units each year.
exactly.
So it wasn't necessarily 5 years, it was the number of units per year
Right.
until you use up all the units.
Right. Very good, right. Now the next one is called the DDB. Double declining balance. Now, if we had this $2,000 item, 10,000, with a scrap value of 2 and a life of 5 years. 5 years is what percent a year? Alright, Michael, you got that pretty easy. 4 years would be what percent a year?
25.
Taylor, 50 years would be what percent a year?
You said 50?
50 years would be what percent a year?
Oh, no.
Just divide 50 into 100.
5.
What you get?
5.
50 into 100.
My brain's not working.
I know.
You know, it's millennials, these are kind of
50 into 100.
0.5.
No. Yeah, just divide 50 into 100.
5.
That's 0.5.
100 divided by 50.
That's what I did.
Hey,
2. That's gracious.
Alright, 2. Taylor, you were reversing your numbers.
I did.
I don't know what I did.
Alright, somebody, how about 20 years? What percent a year?
Go ahead, Michael.
20 into 100, how much?
5?
Alright, 25 years. 25 into 100, how much?
15?
25 into 100 is?
7.
How many quarters are in a dollar?
I said 50.
4. We're just doing the opposite now from what's there.
Alright, you are getting more tired than I am. Alright, numbers have reversed. 4 years is 25%. 25 years is 4%. Every number has reversed somewhere. Alright, but let me tell you about this one. We're going to call it a night. Now, if it's 5 years, we said it was what percent? Now, if it's 5 years, you're depreciating 1/5 a year, aren't you? 1/5 a year for 5 years. We know that 1/5 is equal to decimal 20, don't we? We know that 5 into 100, 5% into 100% is 20%, don't we? All right. Now, what did I say this B stand for?
Double declining down.
Double this 20. Without a calculator, please. 20 times 2 is how much?
40.
Okay. Now we take 8,000. Where do I get the 8,000?
The 10 minus 2.
All right. Times 40%. That's 3,200. Now we have to take the book value every year. How much is left? 8,000 minus 3,200 would be 4,800. And we take that times 40%. All right. We will practice those methods next week, folks. Please read the chapter. You've got plenty to do. We've only got 2 more nights. We've got to wrap it up next week and have a test 2 weeks from the night, 2 days before Thanksgiving.